Hi guys and welcome to Whiskey Geek. I'm Ben and today I'm excited to be sharing more whiskey. Now I was really happy to see how well received our Bunnahabhain visit video was. We really enjoyed ourselves and we were lucky to bring back some excellent whiskey, and today I'm going to open one of them. So of course, this being a Bunnahabhain, the name's a little bit tricky. This one is pronounced Eirigh Na Greine, I think. And that means morning sky in Scots Gaelic. It's named after the fantastic views and sunrises that they get to observe from the distillery. This is a limited edition release intended for the travel market, and here's the bit we're interested in. Whiskies from the finest French and Italian red wine casks create this complex malt with scents of rich, sweet spice and flavours of roasted nuts, fruits, sea salt and smoke. So that's French and Italian red wine casks. Interesting one. I was lucky enough to sample this at the distillery before I picked up the bottle on the recommendation of the visitor centre manager. This is one of his favourite Bunnahabhains and it was maybe the 6th one I tried that day, possibly even more than that, but it still stood out as really lovely and nicely composed. Let's see if we can get that all important pop. So this limited release from Bunnahabhain is a no age statement, bottled at 46.3%, and it's natural colour and unchill filtered. Just what we want. It's got a really lovely crisp gold colour. Comes out about a shade 11, old sauternes. This has had a few minutes sitting in the glass now just to let it disperse and kind of release a load of the aromas. So let's go in and appreciate them. There's a lot of nuts in there. It's kind of chestnutty, and then there's like a tanniny red grape coming in. It's not massively bitter, but it's not sweet either. There is quite a rounded earthy tone, and as you get a little bit more acclimated to it, get a little bit closer to it, those spices start to come in. And quite earthy spices. Ground nutmeg, some cinnamon, cloves maybe. Very pleasant, but there is a gentle prickle. You know, it's a warming prickle, not cloying, not abrasive. There's like a dry wood behind it all. Not particularly musty or dusty, but like a sun-baked shed, that kind of thing. It's really nicely composed whiskey. You know, it's not terribly bitter or sweet. It's a nice middle ground. There's a balance of all of them. But it's not a million miles off a sherry finish. You could convince me if you handed this to me that it had been finished in a decent sherry cask. So now let's try it on the palate. The bitter tannins are much more present. Still not in a bad way, but it works, it accumulates with the spice and the wood tone, and that's what's at the forefront. Behind that, you've almost got kind of a raisiny tone, the sweetness of the brown sugars. There's a gentle cereal influence. Still some of those earthy tones, but not as prominent as on the nose. And the same can be said for the nuts as well. You still get a hint of them, but it's in the background now. It's kind of interesting. Now this is a neck pour, so you'd kind of expect it, but comparing it to my memory of the sample I had at the distillery, it feels a little bit more uptight and repressed. I know there's a wealth more of nuance and kind of some sweetness that hopefully will come out of the bottle later. Actually, coming back to the nose now after having had a sip, it's opening up some kind of stone fruits, dark sugars. It's really bringing more of that sweetness to the surface. Hopefully you can make that out on the glass. There's some decent legs to it. It's got a good mouthfeel, but it's not massively oily. It's not clinging that much. The finish is quite a soft continuation of the palate. You've still got those spices, the warmth, but it just plateaus and it continues and slowly tapers off. It's not like you get that sudden spike that you often get as things evaporate rapidly. Really pleasant, really warm, medium long. And it's those woody tones that are really lingering on the finish. They're a little bit bitter, but not unpleasant at all. It's really quite nice the whole way through. So bear in mind that what I just sampled was the neck pour. I'm going to give this a rating of 85 out of 100. It's a really lovely, composed, balanced dram, but calling back to my memory of it at the distillery, that sample had a bit more nuance to it, and the sweet tones were coming out to play a little bit more. So I'm hoping as this bottle goes down that it's going to develop in a similar way and unravel a little bit. We'll see. Now in terms of enjoyment, this is about on par with the 12-year-old for me, which given the price difference highlights just how good the 12-year-old is really. But this is a limited release, so that artificially inflates the price a little bit. And this is also a 1 litre bottle. But I enjoy this for different reasons to the 12-year-old. I do really like a red wine cask finish, which is odd because I don't really like red wine, but with a whiskey, it brings out and it gives it this nice little turn that kind of mellows everything and rounds it off, but gives you a bulk of flavour. And that's why I enjoy this one. So thanks for sharing an enjoyment of another great whiskey with me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please chuck a like and a comment below and consider subscribing for more whiskey antics. Cheers.